Yo, boom! What up, guys? It's me, Odysseus, and today I'll be giving you a guide on how to play Taliyah. For those who don't know me, I am a Taliyah player. I play her mostly mid lane, but Riot lost to Fill Me, so I am also good at jungle and support, and top lane even. But yeah, I've been playing Taliyah for a very long time. I am now Challenger for 4 seasons, and I like playing Taliyah. A lot of people have been asking me questions. What should I build? When should I roam? What runes do I take? How do I hit my combo? Why does my champion deal no damage? I don't get it. What the Do not worry. I will explain it all in this video. But before I explain how to Taliyah, you have to understand, who is Taliyah? What does she do? Taliyah is a girl who throws rocks. When Taliyah got reworked, she went from being one of the strongest early game champions to becoming a piece of useless shit. This caused a lot of confusion to OG Taliyah players like myself. Like, I remember playing this champ and being so confused where all my damage went. 50 damage on E. I hit my combo. What is this? 29 damage? Before Taliyah got reworked, you could one-shot your enemies at level 3. With this lead, you could move bot lane, jungle, or top, or wherever you want to go to snowball your lead. This made Taliyah very fun. But this Taliyah is in the past now, and we gotta move on. With the current version of Taliyah, you can no longer play like this. You could hit every single spell, hit your combo, hit every Q, but the enemy is still not gonna die. The most important thing you have to understand about the current version of Taliyah is play together with your team. You don't have the damage early game to kill enemies alone, but what you do have is the CC to kill people. So as long as there's a teammate nearby, you can set them up for a free kill. So basically, Taliyah combo plus team damage is enemy dead. So yeah, once again in monkey terms, Taliyah alone, weak. Taliyah together with team, strong. Once you reach level 9, you hit your first power spike. Your Q is maxed out with no cooldown and actual good damage. Around this time you should almost have your first item as well and you can go for solo kills. At level 13 you have your E maxed. You should be sitting on 2 items or maybe even 3, depending on how fed you are. This is when it's demon time for Taliyah and she becomes an absolute monster in teamfights. It's crazy, just throw rocks and enemy dies. Yes. Now that you have a basic understanding of how Taliyah works, I will talk specifically about each role and what runes to take and what you should build and stuff like that. Taliyah's best role is mid lane. Most of the time you want to take control over the lane by pushing in the wave. With no minions left to stand behind, you can poke the enemy freely with your Q or even your combo. And most importantly, pushing in the wave gives you prio to move first around the map. Let's say your jungler wants to invade or contest scuttle or gank a lane. You will be the first to move and help him. However, it's not easy to always push the wave. Since most other champs have more damage than Taliyah, they will look to trade with you. But you can at least try. Pushing in the wave also has its downsides. You will be running out of mana faster because you're using spells, obviously. And you're at risk of being ganked. So make sure to always track the enemy jungler to avoid this. You don't always want to push in the wave anyways. Let's say there is a Kassadin on enemy team and you have a Rek'Sai in your team. Rek'Sai being a champion that loves to gank early game, Kassadin being a champion that is poo-poo early game, it's perfect. You can just freeze the wave right outside of your third range and it leaves the Kassadin with 3 options. Play safe and miss out on XP and gold. Call his jungler or support for help to push out the wave. Walk up to the wave and risk dying to a gank. All of these 3 options are bad for Kassadin and good for Taliyah. Also, if both junglers decide to come and it's a 2v2, you will most likely win because Taliyah Rek'Sai is OP, so hey, it's a win-win-win-win-win. So yeah, make sure to think for yourself, look at the enemy team comp, look at your team comp. Do I have a Rek'Sai jungle? I want to play with him. Do I have a Karthus jungle? He's gonna AFK farm. Don't play with him, just play for yourself. And yeah, just use your own brain. Come on, think for yourself what's best. Come on, you got this, man. Hey Odie, first strike or electrocute. Shut up! Let me explain. If you're up against a lot of melee champions like, I don't know, name it, Ornn top, Wukong jungle, Akali mid, Samira bot with Nautilus, that's a team comp right there. There you take first strike. They're all melee, it's easy to proc, you can just farm gold of them. First strike deals a bunch of damage late game as well, so very good rune, very good, very nice. If it's not for enemy picking a bunch of melee champs and you want to play for early game, you take Electrocute. Electro is the best rune page there is for Taliyah. It's just, it gives you that right amount of damage in early skirmishes. It's beautiful, it's cute, Electro is the best. Then there's Seminary and Comet. I think these rune pages are fine. Me personally, I am not the biggest fan of it because I like to make plays early game and Electro just pops off more there. But if you want to play for laning phase, these are the best runes. As for secondary runes, you have many good options. When running Electro, I mostly take Taste of Blood, Eyeball Collection, Treasure Hunter combined with Transcendence and Scourge. But you can change it up to anything you like. Cheap Shot for more damage, Ingenious feels really nice in team fights, Relentless if you want to be fast, they're all great. Same goes for Sorcery Tree. If you want more mana, take Mana Flow Band, Absolute Focus if you want more damage, if you want to roam, take Water Walking. I don't think there are any bad options here. Then there is also Bone Plating and Overgrowth that you can take. I think these runes are just broken and they make you so tanky for no reason. It's good against matchups like Yasuo, Tristana, Syndra, like these champions that just burst you. Just broken runes, I recommend you try it out at least. As for First Strike, I like these runes, but once again, like you can switch it all up. You can take Stopwatch if you're up against Zed, for example. You can take Minion Dematerializer. You can take Cosmic Insight. I like Approach Velocity though. I've been trying it out since only 3 weeks because somebody told me and it feels really good. But then again, Cosmic Insight is also really good. So whatever you pref, you go. As for Presence of Mind, I used to always take Presence of Mind on Taliyah because I'd never built tier, but nowadays Seraph is just broken, so I never take Presence of Mind anymore. But in case Seraph gets nerfed in the future and it's poo-poo item and you don't build it on Taliyah, take Presence of Mind. As for summoner spells, you choose between Ghost, Ignite or TP, and then you take Flash as well, obviously. Ignite is better if you look to play aggressive for solo kills and for early fights. Ghost is better for roaming and late game team fights. TP is better if you want to just survive lane against a Victor or a Zir and you just want to play for lane. As for builds on Taliyah mid, you want to start off with Doran's Ring 90% of the time. The AP from Doran's will help you get prio and just deal more damage with your abilities. Against matchups like Azir or Victor who just perma poked you and you cannot avoid taking no damage. Does that make sense? Basically you take damage from them, you go Corruption Pot because this will help you survive the lane, yes? Then there's Tear as well. Never ever start mid lane with Tear. It's useless. It gives you a bit of mana, that's about it, but like just don't build it. Not as first item, it's bad. Don't. If you plan to, don't! On your first base though, you do want to get Tear. So let's say you base on 1500 gold. I like to go for Magic Pen Boots and a Tear, and then you have decent damage, you can roam. And you can start working on your mythic item. When it comes to your mythic, you have many choices. Starting with Ludens. This just has to be my all-time favorite item on Taliyah. You get a lot of burst damage on your combo and you get movement speed, and it's really good to snowball an early lead with. It's especially good against squishy targets who don't build MR. However, in the late game when people do get MR and they get tankier, it's not that great. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this item a 9.5 out of 10. I love you Ludens, you're great, keep it up. Next up we got Liandry's. I like this item a lot as well. It gives the same stats as Ludens, but instead of the Magic Pen Mythic passive, it gives Ability Haste. This makes the item good against enemies who have a lot of dashes. I'll explain why a bit later on in the video. But yeah, the item burns enemies and deals more damage against targets who have a lot of HP, so it makes it great against tankier teams who have a lot of frontline. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this item a 9 out of 10. I like it, it's good, keep it up. Next up the list we got Everfrost. It's an interesting one because I have mixed feelings about this. I think the item in itself synergizes really well with Taliyah, but the numbers are just bad, honestly. It having 30-second cooldown with 1 second CC, what is that, man? And this is if the enemy doesn't have Tenacity. Almost everybody has Tenacity, so like, come on bro. The only time when I do build it is when I play against Zed, Katarina, Fizz, Kassadin. Like these champions, they don't really dash, but they teleport or bleep or whatever the name is. So let's say Kassadin ults on you, you can just Everfrost him, combo him away, and then yeah, that's about it. It's a good item for self-peel, it's cheap, but other than that, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I think it needs a buff Riot Games. I'm gonna go ahead and give this item a 6 out of 10 for now. I would like to see better. Next up we have Crown of the Shattered Queen. I think that's what the item is called, I'm not sure. I haven't built it in ages. I think right now it is not the best meta for it. The item itself is fine, but the shield is just gonna get procced before you get in a fight. It's too much long range stuff in the meta right now. If the stars do align, perfectly and you get against, let's say, a Diana Yasuo or an Eve with no poke to proc the shield, this item will be good. But as of right now, I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10 with good potential, but not in this meta. Then last but not least, we got Rod of Ages. This item is just broken. I'ma say it, this item is broken. Everybody knows it, Riot knows it. I don't know when they're nerfing it, if they're even gonna nerf it. This item is really cheap and it gives you insane stats for it. It gives you 100 AP, 600 mana, 600 HP on a mage. 600 HP on a mage, let that sink in. You're not a tank, you're not a bruiser, you're a mage. It just makes you tanky for no reason. You heal off spamming abilities, guess what Taliyah does? She spams abilities, so she gets a lot of healing in fights. She gets movement speed because the passive has movement speed bonus as well in it. I like it a lot. It gives you a free level even. Why the free level? I'll take it, but why? It's really broken. Riot should nerf it, but if they won't do it, just keep building this item, to be honest. I think it's almost perfect. The only thing it doesn't have is ability haste. The other downside is that it delays your power spike by quite a bit. Normally when you hit your first item on Taliyah, you get a big power spike, but with Rod of Ages not so much. But hey, the item is still really good. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 9.5 out of 10. Good. This item is good in basically almost every game. I think the only games where you don't build it is if you have a lot of tanks in your team and you need more damage, because with Rod of Ages you're going to be dealing a little less damage early game. So if you have no damage in your team, then you should probably go for Liandry's or Ludens. So yeah, that's it for all the mythic items. I hope you have a good understanding now of when to build which. As for your second item, you most of the time want to build Seraphs. I think Seraphs is a very strong item. It gives like 120 AP combined with any of the other mythics, and it gives you a fat shield, and it's a really good item. If the enemy is stacking MR, you want to build Void Staff third. You can also switch it up and go Void Staff second if they build it really early on, but that barely happens. But in case they do, it's not bad to go Void Staff second and Seraph's third. Then for your fourth item, you want to go Death Cap, or maybe a defensive item if you need it, like Banshees or Zhonya's, or Cosmic Drive if you want ability haste. Death Cap if you want the most damage though, obviously. Then you might wonder, when do I build Shadow Flame? You build Shadow Flame when you're up against at least 3 squishy targets who don't build MR. So let's say you're the only AP on your team and enemy is looking squishy, you can go Ludens, Magic Pen Boots, Shadow Flame, and then you one-shot enemy team. Yes. Then third item you go Seraphs, fourth item Death Cap, Zhonya's, Void if they do start building MR suddenly, or Cosmic Drive if you want more ability haste. Now I keep saying if you want more ability haste, but you might wonder, when do I want more ability haste? Let me explain. The more dashes enemy team has, the more ability haste you want. You gotta understand, Taliyah's the biggest cock in the game. If you're playing Wukong or Kalista or Akali or Sylas or anything with dashes and you come up against the Taliyah who has her E up every 5 seconds, you can't play the game. You cannot play teamfights. Yes, you can 1v1 her, but in teamfights, imagine you're playing Kalista, right? Auto-attack dash, you see Taliyah E. You gotta wait it out, because if you're gonna auto-attack dash, you get stunned and then you die. So you wait it out, you do nothing, 3 seconds later, she throws it again. As a Kalista, you cannot play the game. So if you're up against a lot of dashes as Taliyah, you wanna just build a lot of ability haste, have your E up as much as possible, and yeah, you're just gonna be cocking enemy team. Feels good. That's why I mentioned before that Liandry's is really good against enemies who dash a lot, because it gives ability haste on the mythic passive. And yeah, once again, Cosmic Drive, really good item on Taliyah, one of my favorite items of all time. You deal a bit less damage, but you get more utility, so it's worth it a lot of the times. When building Rod of Ages, I like running magical footwear. This way you don't have to worry about building boots, and you can just get your Rod of Ages as soon as possible to also get the 10 stacks as soon as possible. Then you want to get Tear and finish your boots, Ionian or Sword boots, depending on if they build MR or not. If they don't build MR, you want to get Magic Pen boots, Sword boots, and if they do build MR and they're a bit tankier, you want to get Ionian boots. Then you want to get Cosmic Drive second. I like this item, especially with Rod of Ages, because you need the ability haste. After Cosmic, you get your Seraphs, third item, and then you can go Void Staff or Death Cap. If they build MR, you get Void Staff. If they don't build MR, you get Death Cap. At this point, you just become Thanos with all of the 5 Infinity Stones or whatever. You're tanky, you're fast, you got ability haste, you have damage. You have it all, man. You have it all. So yeah, that's it for mid lane. On to jungle. The best part about jungling with Taliyah is that you no longer have to rely on your jungler to play around you, since you are the jungler. You can decide yourself who you want to play around. You want to gank the lanes that have setup. Renekton, Galio, and Nautilus are a few examples of champions that are really nice to gank as Taliyah. They all have good engage and setup for you to hit your combo. One thing that makes Taliyah jungle pretty weak is how easily she is punished by other junglers. Basically, any other jungler in the meta right now can just invade Taliyah, steal her camps, and there's not much you can do about it because you deal no damage and they do. So you're very team reliant if that happens. So for the early game, you want to avoid the enemy jungler, don't fight him, you want to gank lanes that have setup, and that's how you play Taliyah jungle. When clearing your jungle, you want to set up some worked ground 30 seconds before the camp spawns. This way you can just throw boulders right when it spawns and you'll clear faster this way. As for runes, I take Dark Harvest most of the time on Taliyah jungle. It's a good rune to snowball with. If you have good CC in your team, it's easy stacks everywhere. However, if there's no gank setup and you have no CC in your team, it's better to take First Strike. This is a lot less risky because if you end up with 0 stacks by the end of the game, then Dark Harvest is pretty useless and First Strike is still good. So yes, I like First Strike as well. The major difference in building Taliyah jungle and building Taliyah mid is that in mid lane you take Tear and Seraphs, in jungle you don't because of the mana regen you get. I like rushing Magic Pen boots on Taliyah jungle. You will move faster around the map and you have good damage with the Magic Pen. Ludens is my favorite mythic as a jungler. I like the burst damage, it's good, very nice. If you get fed early game, you can go for Shadow Flame second. Then you can start one-shotting people and 1v9 the game. If you're not necessarily fed, just look at the team, look at what you need. If they're squishy, go Shadow Flame. If they're tanky, go Void Staff. If they have a lot of dashes, go Cosmic Drive. If they have assassins and you need defensive items, go for Zhonya's maybe. So yeah, just look at the game, look at what you need, use your brain, and win the game. Taliyah support is good with AD carries like Jhin, Xayah, Varus, like these kind of utility AD carries. As for runes on Taliyah support, I like Electrocute or Dark Harvest the most. I think these give you the most damage, the most kill pressure. Then again, Dark Harvest is kinda flippy because if you don't get any stacks and it's just boring, nothing happening bot lane, it's a pretty useless rune, so that's why Electrocute is safer. You can also take Seminary. I think this is the best rune as Taliyah support actually. It gives you the most trading power, which is very important in bot lane, especially against ranged matchups. So if you want to play for lane and focus on winning lane 2v2, take Seminary. You want to get as much ability haste as possible. It's not your job to deal damage, you're the support. So act like one and just do your job, CC enemies, peel for your teammates. Get anti-heal if enemy team has a lot of healing, you should be the one getting it. I like rushing Ionian Boots into Everfrost. Ionian Boots, good item, gives ability haste, it's cheap. Same goes for Everfrost, it is cheap, it gives you good amount of AP, it gives you a little stun. It's good, it's cute, I'll take it. The core items you want to build are Cosmic Drive, Zhonya's, Morello's, and Rylai's. They're all cheap and they have nice build paths and I like. Next up I'll be talking about some of the tips and tricks on Taliyah, some mechanics and yeah, stuff like that. Casting your Q leaves behind worked ground. Casting your Q on worked ground throws a boulder instead. The boulder is the key to making Taliyah work. In lane you want to use this ability to poke and trade with enemies. The AoE hitbox is pretty big, so if they stand next to minions you can hit the minions and then you will also hit them with the AoE. And it does a bit of damage, but most importantly it slows the enemy and most enemies don't see the slow coming, and then after the slow you can hit your combo and like that, BOOM! They die. So yeah, remember, hitting your boulder is the key to hitting your combo as Taliyah. Some other important mechanics to know on Taliyah is Q flash and E flash. The Q flash on boulder, you can stand on worked ground, cast your Q on the worked ground and then flash towards wherever you want to and it will cast from there. Same goes for E, you can E flash and enemies will have a harder time reacting to this, so it's important you know this mechanic. You can also Q Zhonya's and you will keep throwing rocks, so if you Q then Zhonya's, you throw rocks. It wasn't like that before the rework, but now it is, so it's not that useful, but 1 in 1,000 games it can be useful, so nice to know. Next up, you need to know when you want to cast your E first and when your W. Most of the time you want to E first. This way they get slowed and get paranoid about not knowing when you will throw your W. They might make funny weird dodging patterns even though you don't throw anything. Also, if they have dashes, let's say you're up against the Silas, you throw your E first and then your W, because if he wants to dodge your W he has to E, which is a dash, so then he goes through your E anyways. You want to cast your W first if the enemies are stunned, slowed, if they're running from you, or if you want to catch them by surprise. This way they have less time to react. You can cast your spells while you're jumping from your ult. This makes it so you can hit the enemies with your wall and then they get knocked up. So you can cast your E while you're jumping off the wall that they get knocked up by, and then they get stunned. And then you can throw your W, for example, to put them in an even worse position, and then you can kill them. So yeah, good mechanic to know. Pretty hard to pull off, but once you learn it, good mechanic. One last thing, don't level your ult straight away when you hit level 6. These days we have this funny 3-second cooldown for legit no reason. It doesn't make sense, nobody else has it. Pantheon, Twisted Fate, Aurelian Soul, Shen, whoever else there is, they don't have it. But Taliyah does for some reason, I don't know why, but it is what it is. Anyways, when you level your ult, it doesn't count the last 3 seconds of fighting, so you can immediately cast it. Let's say you're fighting, you haven't leveled your ult yet, and the enemy flashes away, and then you level your ult, it doesn't count the last 3 seconds, so you can ult straight away. And yeah, that's it. From then on you gotta wait 3 seconds every time, but it is what it is. Also, if anyone wonders about the new Aurelian Soul, if he goes in his air thing, you can just drop your E and he gets stunned by it, so Taliyah is a hard counter into the new Aurelian Soul, you love to see it. Anyways, this was my Taliyah guide. I hope it was helpful to some of you guys. If it was, make sure to subscribe, comment down below. And yeah, thanks for watching guys. Goodbye.